Hi, hi, Joe.
Hi.
How's it going? I did that too. Hey there. Got to look all pretty, right? We're on Zoom.
I've been on Zoom all day and I don't even care anymore.
I feel you. I have that same thing sometimes. I'm like, okay, I did a call at 11. I did another one at 11:30, and I am like, okay, I just left all my stuff here and was like, okay, I'm ready to go whenever it's time.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, and Malika, hello, welcome. You
Malika.
can you can unmute. Feel free.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good evening,
Awesome.
everyone.
Awesome. I am so excited, you guys. This is going to be fun. Right. So, I was thinking I'll give it just like maybe another minute and then I'll kind of get rolling, and everything. Um, so today what I did was I prepared some different questions that I am asked all the time about foreclosures, but I really want to help you guys with, the questions you guys have. Um, so I'm sure there's some things that you guys already know, but basically we'll just play it by ear, I guess. So, um, I haven't met you guys before, so just so you guys know, I'm Corey Perez, obviously, but I have been selling real estate since 2002, and basically in 2002, I started selling foreclosures as well. Basically, my broker, she was into foreclosure, she was doing BPOs, and she was like, I am not showing you how to do any of this. And I was like, okay, so I will learn on my own. And I set out to do that because, well, I'm kind of one of those people, if you tell me I can't do something, that's when I decide I'm going to. So anyway, so that's kind of what got me started, with foreclosures. And then I ended up buying one myself for my first home. And after that, I was kind of hooked. It was like, the best deal I could have got, it was a fixer upper, which was no big deal for me. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. Um, so anyway, okay. So the questions that I don't know where everyone is as far as foreclosures are concerned. So, basically a foreclosure is a home that's been reclaimed by the bank after the owners have defaulted on the mortgage. A pre-foreclosure is essentially a person who has not paid their payment in a few months, and the bank has basically sent a notice of default, and you'll see them pop up as pre-foreclosures on different sites. Are you guys familiar with RPR? You guys all have RPR? Yay. Okay, good. Malika, you? No?
I'm brand spanking new. So
Okay.
I might not even have any questions. I'm just soaking it all in.
That's okay. That's okay. I love it so much. And just go ahead and stay unmuted if that's okay, and ask me as they come, just, anything.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
So another name for a foreclosure is an REO, which stands for real estate owned. And basically, a lot of MLSs will have a search option so that you can search for foreclosures via the REO like tag, basically. And so you can send out emails to investors, that sort of thing, with foreclosures basically. And that's one thing that I love to do, is to attract investors with lists of foreclosures or pre-foreclosures or whatever. Okay, so another thing that I get asked about all the time is, how do you know a home is in foreclosure or pre-foreclosure? And my answer is, a lot of times from looking at it. I mean, not always, of course, but you can drive through a neighborhood and kind of get a feel for which houses are going to be foreclosed on. A lot of times the people have stopped taking care of them. You'll see lawns that are, a mess and everything else. You'll see houses, a tarp on the roof and stuff like that. And you'll just see, you can kind of tell when you're driving through a neighborhood, like, okay, this house has got some issues. And that's one way that you can kind of start. Like, that's one way that I have a lot of investors reach out to me, is like, oh, I saw this house. And for me, I already know about it because I take a lot of pictures for banks and I do a lot of BPOs and stuff like that. So I know a lot about the market and the empty homes, that sort of thing. But the one thing that I get all the time is basically like, I found a home that's vacant. How do I sell it? I know it's a foreclosure. Like, how can I get it listed? I've got a client for it. Like, what's next? I want to sell it. And this is one thing that a lot of people, well, a lot of agents, they ask me all the time. And basically, the problem comes when a house is already foreclosed on and it's just sitting there. A lot of times the banks are not willing to sell them. Like, even if you have a cash buyer who's ready to make an offer right now, like, the bank, if they're not ready to sell it, they're not going to sell it. And that's just the bottom line. I've chased asset managers for years. Like, I have someone, let me give you this offer. It's a cash offer. And they're like, no, we're not until we're ready. And then it'll go on the MLS and that's that. And so, you know, a lot of times you'll find that the listings, the foreclosure listings, they're going to be on the MLS. It's not going to be like a secret sale somewhere. There will be an auction, and basically at the auction, normally if there's not a buyer there with cash to buy it, you'll find at the auction that basically the bank will buy it back and then sell it for market value. A lot of times people think that the banks will sell it for what was owed on it, and well, they're not stupid. So they're not, they're looking to get market value out of it and basically move forward. Okay, so I've talked a lot already. So what questions do you guys have for me?
So, hi, Corey.
Hey
I
there.
have a quick question for you because I'm trying to get into this foreclosure thing. I have a couple of investors.
Okay.
So I ended up signing up something called Homes HUD USA or something.
Okay.
And it lists a lot of pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, REO, and all that great stuff.
Right.
So, but how do I get to the asset manager? I'm
Okay.
like, because they gave me the phone, it gives me the phone number to like the credit union. I call, but then I'm like, okay, like at this point, what what do I do next?
Right. So here's the thing. So if it's already like officially foreclosed on, they're going to, get going. Like, it'll be a matter of time, but they will be listing it eventually. Most of the time they are waiting for paperwork, whether it be getting the deed back or, stuff like that. I've seen houses that have sat for 2 or 3 years, and I was just waiting for the deed to come in. And, it was like that they'd already had the auction, they'd already done the sale, they'd done all this stuff, and we were just sitting and waiting. And I don't know. I don't I don't understand like how the deed doesn't get from point A to point B in like a timely period. But anyway, it can take a while. So what I like to do is, if there's a specific house, and if you can find the asset manager, the company that's handling that, then I would try to see if you can get in front of, well, okay, talk with, like, if it's at a credit union, ask them who handles your asset distribution. Ask them basically, who is the asset manager, like who handles this for you. A lot of times it's going to be an actual asset management company as opposed to someone in the bank handling it. And then another thing that I want to tell you is that a lot of times when you sign up for those sites, with the foreclosures and the pre-foreclosures, a lot of times I'm going to say, I hope that you don't spend a lot of money on them, because a lot of times it's not, the best information, you know. I mean, it's not going to help you get to the listing per se. So, you know, don't spend a lot of money like searching for foreclosures that way, because it will be a little bit harder to get them. You need to get in front of the asset managers when they're early in the process, basically, because they are going to pretty early on, they'll choose an agent to basically babysit the house for them. They'll have the agent go and turn on the water and the power and all that stuff like in their name. They will a lot of times, like when I say babysit, like I used to have to go to these houses once a week, you know, and check on them, that sort of thing. Sometimes 2 times, just depending on the situation. Anyhow, so, and a lot of times you'll be tasked with helping to find someone to clean out a property. That could be my area because I'm kind of rural and it's, you know, that there's not a lot of providers, I guess, but that's one thing that I've had to help them with as well. Um,
That's how it is here. I'm in Connecticut, so it's not very rural at all. And it's exactly like that. It's
okay.
very expensive. Dealing with those like HUD and the big companies like HUD, you start to get the Fannie and Freddie, all that, you have to have a ton of money, a ton of capital on hand, because you have to, like you just said, all the utilities have to go on, trash outs have to get done. Sometimes you're even having people do renovations.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's something that is really, like, they don't necessarily tell you that up front. You know, it's kind of like you get the listing and then all of a sudden you have these tasks that are like, okay, turn on the water, turn on the power, turn on the gas. Like, guess what? It's all on you. And so that's another thing that is definitely something that you want to know about ahead of time so that you're sort of prepared for it. Sometimes I've found that sometimes it's easier to deal with a pre-foreclosure. Like if you're helping an investor, it may be easiest to deal with a pre-foreclosure and help a like a homeowner out of a problem that they're in, save, you know, their credit may already be shot, but you know, save them from a foreclosure. That may be your best bet. It may be a little bit easier to get in the door there than it's going to be to get in front of the asset managers if they already have an established list of people, which a lot of times they'll kind of go through their list. And then, you know, if you're on the asset management platform and you're in that area, sometimes they'll just pick you, you know, and it's like, okay, cool. You know, there's kind of no rhyme or reason to it. It feels like a lot of times. But if you've been doing a lot of work with the bank, then they're definitely going to, you know, utilize you again if that asset manager knows kind of what you're about and what you've done for them.
Or, I'm sorry, can
No
I
worries.
ask a quick question regarding
Yes.
that? That is, I was actually thinking about that a little earlier. You mentioned about the pre-foreclosure. What would that look like? Because I'm thinking about, unfortunately, you know, the situation that we're in and what may inevitably be coming for a lot of homeowners once all of these things are opened up and now bills are coming due.
Exactly.
What would that look like if you're trying to position yourself?
Well, here's the thing. There's a couple of different things you can do. One,
Mhm.
honestly, like, okay, so if you guys have watched me at all in my group, you'll know that I'm a big group person. Like, groups are a big deal. So, like a Facebook group, that sort of thing. Like, honestly, I would probably in my area, I would consider creating a Facebook group for people who may be going through foreclosure or pre-foreclosure or struggling, whatever, and give them some options, like help them see the way out, whether that be sell it now when you don't owe it, like, you know, you already know that you owe, but sell it now and get out from under it before you're faced with foreclosure, basically.
Okay.
And honestly, I just last month we are in, yes, January. So last month, December, I sold one. Basically it was a pre-foreclosure, and I knew like it was vacant. I knew that the bank was, having me go out and take pictures of it and stuff. So I knew that it was pretty much, on its way to foreclosure. And I contacted the owners. I knew them, but I contacted them and I said, hey, look, your house is coming up on my list, and basically I see that it's a pre-foreclosure. What are you guys planning on doing? And they told me, I thought it already went back to the bank. Like I filed for bankruptcy. I thought it already went back to the bank. I was done with it. I didn't even realize it was still in my name. And so I found an investor to buy it from them, and it worked out well for them. Now, that is kind of the way that I see, things working. I mean, as far as pre-foreclosures are concerned, I feel as though we can help people before they get to that problem, before they're faced with that. And right now, I don't want to say there's a huge opportunity, but there's a huge opportunity to help a lot of people who are in over their head right now. And so yeah. So that's kind of, I feel like if we're looking at the pre-foreclosures and RPR, write that down, Malika, RPR, it's Realtor Property Resource. It is a free tool available to all realtors, and you can actually look on there and it'll tell you if a house is in pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, that sort of stuff as well. It'll have like a little tag on it.
Corey,
Is there a certain way to search an RPR to find pre-foreclosures?
I don't think you can specifically search for them. You may very well be able to talk with your title company and ask them about people who are in pre-foreclosure.
Yeah, I did. The title company doesn't provide that information.
Okay. If they don't provide that information, then it's going to be a little bit more of a search, and you'll pretty much, you'll need to find out, like the way I've done it over the years is looking at vacant homes, that sort of thing, and kind of getting, I'll have a list kind of, homes that I know are vacant that are like appear to be in distress, that sort of thing. And there are the websites that will offer that information, but it's not always accurate. So I hate to have anyone pay for a website or something, if it's not, if it's not gonna, I guess, guarantee them results. You know what I mean? What, did you have a question for me, Joe?
I did. So when you mentioned, having an investor step in and make the purchase before it goes to foreclosure, is that, are you talking about sending it to short sale, or are these situations where the equity is, where they actually have the equity to support a sale that's not short?
Right now, most of the homes that I've come across are not facing like a short sale situation, so it's been, that they're basically ready to lose the equity in their house, basically. And, it's hard, but right now there aren't, in my area at least, there are not a lot of short sales. It's mostly, just resales, and they're going like crazy.
Where are you, Corey?
I'm in Washington State, in Central Washington.
Okay.
Okay, so another thing is that sometimes banks will foreclose on a property when they're still occupied. And so sometimes you'll even come across places that are for sale, they're occupied, you can't go in, and you may find that you have investors who, on occasion, it's not super common, but you may on occasion find that an investor has to buy a house sight unseen if they want a foreclosure. And that's because sometimes the banks aren't willing to evict the people. They're just like, the next person can deal with it. So that's something that I've seen as well. And it's not as exciting, let me tell you. It's kind of, it kind of raises a lot of red flags, and people are going, well, but wait, I don't know that I want to do that. So anyway, and then, I really want to tell you guys about doing BPOs for banks. Those are broker price opinions. And honestly, when I first got started, that was one of the ways that I got noticed. Was I was doing different broker price opinions, BPOs, for banks, and when they had a foreclosure, they would contact me because they saw that I had already, given them a valuation on the property. So it's kind of a really good place to get started, getting in front of them. But also, there are different like websites that are kind of a asset management platform. And, there are various ones, but there's one site that's REO Network. And that one, I've gotten foreclosure listings from just from having like, it's kind of like an ad or a bio on there basically, and you tell them, your history, who you've helped, whatever. Or you tell them, I mean, if you haven't done a foreclosure yet, give them some information on you, about your sales. Or even when I first got started, I was telling them about just helping investors, because I had a couple of investors that I helped buy foreclosures. And that's where I started, was like, well, back then HUD was paying out the nose for commission for a buyer's agent. And I was like, oh, heck yeah, it's more than the regular commission. I'm selling HUD houses. Like that's the way I'm going. And so anyway, so that's kind of one thing. Another company that I have used and that has given me a lot of listings is ResNet. It's res.net. When I was looking earlier today, it doesn't look like they have a lot of listings right now, but quite frankly, there's probably not a lot of them who are going to have a lot right now, just because, the foreclosure process has kind of been stalled, and all of that, and people are not getting foreclosed on right now. At least in my area, they're not. And I don't think they are in most of the country at this point. 24 Asset Management and Keystone are some others that I have had luck with. And another one that I get calls from almost every day is LRES, LRES. I can't remember the full name of them, but if you search it, you should be able to come up with them. Anyway, but I would say, signing up for the different companies, getting your name out there, putting a profile up, something that, shows that if that's you have a team of people, can you put together a team, someone who can do a trash out, can you say that you can organize these things for the bank, all of those things would be helpful if you can show them that you are basically prepared to do the work. Say that you're willing to put the stuff in your name, say that you're willing to do trash outs, or coordinate them. But all of those things are going to be helpful. Okay, guys, what other questions do you have?
Excuse me. Are you actively pursuing and prospecting the asset managers?
I don't say that I go out and I reach out to them so much. Honestly, most of the time they come and they find me from the different platforms and stuff that I've registered with and the BPOs that I'm doing. So I would say that a good thing to do, like, I'm trying to think. The first one that I really did a lot with was Clear Capital. And they do a lot of BPOs and stuff. And that was one of the first companies that I was with all the time. And they have someone that they're like linked to that handles the foreclosures. And so if you are on that, most of the time they will give you give that asset manager your contact information, basically.
Have
Um,
you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I have connected with people, asset managers, like on LinkedIn and stuff as well. Um, it's I have not played a lot with LinkedIn. It always seems like what I get when I get on LinkedIn is I have a million messages from other people trying to sell me something. And so it feels like, it's just everyone's trying to sell you something. And so I haven't reached out to the asset managers on LinkedIn that I'm connected with just because I'm like afraid that they're going to think I'm some sales, well, I am, but some salesperson, just the same as everyone else trying to sell them something. So anyway.
Corey, one of the people that was in the agency that I used to be associated with handles foreclosures and short sales.
Okay.
And her explanation, she did a presentation for the agents one day, and she said that if you're handling a foreclosure for a bank, you have to go out there weekly and take pictures. If there's any repairs that need to be done to just to put it on the market, you have to be responsible for paying for everything and being reimbursed by the bank.
Yeah.
Crash out, you have to so you have to have some capital in your pocket in order to handle foreclosures for banks.
You
That's
do. Yeah, you do. It is, I mean, I'm gonna say there are times that you can do different things, like there are times that the asset managers will like realize that, I don't know. I guess there are times that they'll realize that not everyone has that kind of funds, but at the same time, and they'll hire it out basically. It kind of depends on the company that you're working with because, well, I've had like most of the time foreclosures, they're like as is, no one's doing anything to it, all of that. And I've had some companies that have gone out and they have like completely remodeled a home to sell it. And I've also had companies where, it needed a new roof and the buyer asked for a new roof and got a new roof. And I am always completely stunned when any bank says yes to something like that. But when it comes to an agent helping the banks, sometimes they will hire that stuff out themselves, but it is best to assume that they're probably going to count on you for that. Just so you're not surprised.
So in handling short sales, then doesn't a property short sale before it forecloses?
Yes. A short sale is before it is foreclosed on. A short sale is basically getting permission from the bank to sell a house for less than what is owed on it.
And when you short sell it, is it? Let's see. I heard a couple of years ago that the law, something changed about deficiency judgments on short sales, and so the seller can now still get a deficiency judgment and have to pay the IRS as income.
That I have heard that. Yes, there are. I've heard that there, are, I guess there is that opportunity for them to do that. I don't know. Like I've been told, that you want to make sure, obviously in your contract, it says that they can't come back after you. But at the same time, like when you're signing all this paperwork, you never really know. So it's something that you should definitely as an agent be asking and kind of have your client make sure that they know for sure that they're not going to have a deficiency afterwards.
Can you as the agent can can you negotiate with the bank not to have that deficiency judgment issued?
You can try. It is one of those things. I think it probably depends on the bank though. So it's probably going to be a case by case sort of situation.
Do you see a difference in handling them between big box banks and mortgage companies?
I haven't done a whole heck of a lot of short sales. The ones that I have done, honestly, like the smaller banks are a little bit easier to work with. The bigger banks are like kind of like when you're selling something and you have someone financed by Bank of America, they file it by like the closing date. They're not like in a hurry to do anything really. And so you can expect it to be a long process.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Short sales can definitely be tough. I do a lot of them actually. and short
Okay,
sales
okay.
can be tough.
Yeah. It can definitely be a challenge from what I've experienced. It's not it's not my favorite transaction to do.
So Joe, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, really, the only answer I could add to what you just asked is hire an attorney. The bank will pay the attorney at closing. It has to be approved on the HUD. I've never seen them turn one down, but the attorney is the one that can take care of all that. Really, I mean, if you team up with a very good attorney, your job as the short sale agent will just be to market and sell. And then let the attorney do the heavy lifting. Even if you have to reduce your commission, it's a
So
win-win
as
for
the
everyone.
agent, you're saying as the agent hook up with the, oh, I'm sorry. You're saying as the agent hook up with an attorney?
Absolutely.
Oh,
And it's not, I guess, in general, it's not a bad idea to have a real estate attorney kind of in your back pocket, just someone that you can go to. I'm not saying like when I first opened my office, I called an attorney that I knew and I was like, okay, so do I put you on retainer? Like, what do I do? Like, how do I know that you're my guy? And he's like, no, Corey, you call me when you have questions. And if you get into trouble, then we'll talk. And I was like, okay, fine. That's good. That's what I needed to know. But it's a good idea to have a real estate attorney that you can go to and ask questions and have someone that you can refer people to as well. That's just never a bad idea. Okay, any other questions, guys?
I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry, hi.
Hi there.
I'm also a near agent. So you mentioned that you can assume how the property's the condition is, and you can see if it's a foreclosure or not. How do we find out which banks own it? How can we find out the owner, or how to help it?
So if it's a pre-foreclosure, what I would do is I would recommend going into RPR. With RPR at the top, it will have like generally, I guess generally, it has the mailing address of the people who own it currently. So if they're not living in the house and they're living somewhere else, generally it'll have the mailing address, like where the taxes are sent to or whatever. And then you can kind of start searching. Probably it wouldn't be a bad idea in this case, like if you're looking for pre-foreclosures and trying to find the owners, to have like one of those reverse number like memberships or whatever, where you can search for someone's number by name or whatever, since apparently the phone books, you can't use white pages anymore without paying for it either. Um, so anyway, so that's kind of one thing that I would do is go into RPR. Like if you have a specific home, go in there and look, and it'll give you the information. It'll give you down below, it should give you mortgage information as well. A lot of times it'll say, what mortgage company it was, but it's probably going to be better to hit up the pre-foreclosed owner first, as opposed to waiting for the bank to sell it and help them out, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, guys. Anything else?
can you send us a list of all those companies that you named?
Oh yeah, of course I can. I have there's a couple more that I actually didn't mention that I'll send as well.
Okay.
That I've worked with. Over the years, I've had a lot of different foreclosure companies that I've worked with, and some of them have gone away, over time and whatnot. But there's definitely more than what is on my list, I would say. So, do some research and go out there and look for them and sign up for the different companies. There's like ResNet. The last time I paid, it was like $700, I think, for a year. And, for me, like I can justify that because I'm going to make more than $700 on one transaction, so it's okay. But if you're brand new and you're kind of like, okay, this may be a little too much for me, you know, with the money requirements and whatnot, you know, knowing that you're going to have to do the utilities and whatnot, then I would start somewhere like REO Network and build your profile there. And it's a free resource.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, I will send everyone who registered, and I know you guys all registered because you're here. So I'll send you guys all, I'll send you guys an email with the list of different REO companies that I've worked with.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll make a note of it so I don't forget.
Thanks for doing this, Corey. I appreciate it.
You're
Appreciate your
very
time.
welcome. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask them, even if it's, you know, Malika, I know that we've kind of talked a little bit about other things. So even if you have other questions, I'm here so we can do this.
Corey, I do have one quick question. Have you done any tax liens?
I have not.
Okay.
I had one gal, this was like the worst story I ever heard. I had one gal who lost her house over a tax lien. And it was a friggin' nightmare. This gal, her mom had just been murdered. She just lost her husband in a car accident, and she was pregnant and had like 4 or 5 kids already. So she was like in a horrible state of affairs. And this guy, okay, we'll see you later, Joe. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. And she basically, this guy came along and said, I'll pay this for you. You sign it over to me. And then as soon as you pay it back, I'll sign it back over to you. And of course, she signed it over, and there was, I mean, it was just a verbal agreement basically, and she got screwed. She lost all of her equity, everything, and lost her house. And I mean, after I saw that, that's when, you know, different laws started changing to kind of protect the homeowners more. But that event, like that, it has traumatized me. Like I still like get teary-eyed for this gal, and I have no idea where she is now. But I can't believe that someone could do that to someone else, you know?
All the time. So I used to do the investigations for a bank. It happens all the time. I don't know why people let somebody come knock on their door and sign their houses over to them.
Right.
I also don't know why when the fraudster is found. I belong to a couple of different investigations groups, and nobody wants to take on the legal challenge of saying to the banks and to law enforcement, when you find the fraudster, the house should go back to the owner.
Exactly.
They were defrauded.
Exactly.
How do you let the fraudster keep the house?
Exactly. And I can't even begin to imagine what that would be like. All I can do is hope that we can help other people so they don't end up in the same situation, you know? And that's kind of that's kind of the way that I look at most of everything. And the reason why I'm here helping agents is because, you know, I want for us all to level up. I want us all to kick ass, honestly. Like, sorry, but that's really what I want. And, you know, I want for us to be able to work together, you know, even if we're in different marketplaces, and help one another out and let us all succeed. So.
Right. Absolutely.
Sorry guys, I get kind of silly sometimes. I look at this smile.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, thank you for this information.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well,
Thank you.
Do you guys have any other questions for me? Like I said, I know that, you know, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. All right. So, I was going to say something else and now I lost it. Sorry about that. Okay. Well, if you guys have any other questions, like even, I know Malika, we've kind of talked recently about, some other things, lead generation and some other things. Do you have anything that you need help with while I'm here?
Well, at this particular point, no, because, I got a couple of things to implement. So, I got to do my part. And
Awesome.
this was actually, though, very informative because although I'm brand spanking new, as it relates to the pre-foreclosure state, I actually was mulling that over today and thinking, how could I position myself to be of assistance, even if it was trying to help the homeowner kind of get up from under the home before things kind of fell apart. So it was crazy that you said that specifically. And it goes back to what we even spoke about, what is it that I want to do with my business. So
Exactly.
I'm kind of psyched, and I'm assuming the realtor property resource that is, I access that somewhere is that in the, I don't know, if that's an MLS.
Just go to Realtor Property Resource or type in RPR and it should bring up Realtor Property Resource and click on it and it'll ask you your NERDS number, the NRDS number. And then I think it'll ask you to register or something like that. But it's pretty simple. As long as you've got that number, you're good.
Corey, I do have another question. If you identify these pre-foreclosures and you want to help somebody sell the house before it goes into full foreclosure, how do you know how far along in that pre-foreclosure process they are? I mean, you could put it on the market and then all of a sudden the next day, the bank is over there, locking it up and putting you out.
Exactly. So what I like to do at that point is I do get in touch with my title company and I do basically ask them, I'll have them do a search for any notices regarding foreclosure. And basically they'll return it and tell me like, okay, the date is scheduled for X. And so then I know like, okay, this is how much time I have to help them. And I believe at least in Washington, there's like a notice that sellers have to do. And if it's within 20 days of a foreclosure, they have to like say so. But not everyone knows, like, I mean, they know, but not everyone knows or like pays attention to when the foreclosure date is. They kind of get in this ball of like denial and like, I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. And, they just some people just kind of freeze and don't do anything. And so I don't remember where I was trying to go with that, but it is a problem, that I see with people just kind of not knowing.
Okay.
So definitely the title company is where I would go. Another thing is if there are places that are, well, obviously boarded up and stuff, like check with the city and stuff like that, because there may also be in my area, like if they turn off the power, they will, and the people don't pay, they'll condemn the home, and so there are different things that can happen, not just bank things, that maybe people are like, I guess what I'm saying is there are a lot of people out there who need help. And, they're not all foreclosure yet. And they're different. There are just different things that happen and they don't always show up as a pre-foreclosure. But you can still reach out to those people and help them. Like if their home is boarded up and you see that it's been boarded up for a while and you're like, okay, I've seen this house for the last year, okay, let's do something with this. Let's see if we can reach out and help someone.
Question, is there a way with the programs that mortgage companies have implemented, where people have been able to put their payments on deferment and forbearance and all that kind of thing. Is there a way, I don't know, to even kind of would there be any kind of like database or something where you can kind of get that kind of information? Because those people, they may or may not, but those are the signs,
Right.
for some people.
I,
I don't know if that's
I don't know that there's a source where you can search that. However, one thing that I like to do is, and I've talked about it, is use reverse prospecting, which is basically where you go out and you give them information. And in this case,
okay.
it may be something like, are you in forbearance or are you in deferment even? Let me help you get out of this situation, or you don't have the money to pay it back yet. Are you worried about what's going to happen when the moratorium ends, that sort of thing. And you can put out feelers like that just by asking questions. And, people may not always want to answer you in front of other people. So invite them into your DMs to talk to you there.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Because that will be, even when you're talking to a regular home buyer or home seller, I will, like, after they tell me like, okay, I'm interested in whatever it is that I'm offering, I pretty much always take them into the DMs because I know that it's personal. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to want everyone to see what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
So I start there, but I'll always tell them that I sent them a DM or something like that so that they know, and then other people can see that. So like if someone just says, I want info, I'll tell them, DM sent.
Okay.
And so it kind of creates a little bit of like a buzz, I guess, and shows them like, okay, she is responding to people. She's not just leaving them here, not answering them.
Okay, great. All right, awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And Facebook groups, like I've mentioned, Facebook groups are really good for this.
Okay.
You can use other people's Facebook groups and, start discussions and go in there, but it may be something that you may want to consider creating your own Facebook group and, letting people come in as they want. I would probably have it be a private group just so
Right.
what's in there is in there and
Yeah,
not
they're
everyone
right.
can find it, but still allow people to be invited in, or allow them in, that sort of thing, and help them.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That's great. Awesome.
All right, any other questions?
I'm great.
All right, awesome.
Appreciate this so much.
You're very, very welcome. I definitely hope that it has helped, kind of not clear things up, but maybe give you some direction, and help you kind of see a way forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're
I'm
very
excited.
welcome. All right, Geraldine, do you have any other questions?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Well, you ladies have a good evening, and reach out to me if ever you need anything.
Absolutely. Thank you, Corey.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too.